Hello everyone, welcome to the Academic Skills Reading Exam Refresher module. This presentation was created to help prepare students who are about to begin courses at Bristol Community College for the Reading Comprehension Accuplacer exam. My name is Sarah Coker and I will be walking you through some of the things you need to keep in mind before you take the exam. Although this is an exam, the Accuplacer is not something you pass or fail. Instead, it is a way to place you in the best possible classes to ensure your success. So keep in mind that when you sit down to take the Accuplacer exam, that you should take the exam seriously. A high score means being able to begin your first semester at BCC with college-level courses, so be sure to do the best that you can. In this presentation, we will go over the types of questions the Accuplacer exam asks in order to test your level of reading comprehension. The questions the exam will ask focus on certain aspects of reading. These include knowing how to identify vocabulary in the context of a reading passage, being able to find the main idea in a reading passage, identifying supporting details in a reading passage, identifying patterns of ideas and information in a reading, and understanding how to infer meaning and tone in a reading. We will first focus on ways to identify the meaning of vocabulary in the context of a reading. What do you do when you don't understand a word in a passage? Sometimes you can just skip the word and still comprehend the general meaning. However, there are times when you really need to know the meaning of the word to make sense of what you are reading. On the exam, you will most likely find words that you don't know the meaning of, so you will need to try to make your best guess to answer the questions by guessing the meaning from the reading passage. One way to answer a vocabulary question from a reading passage is to read the vocabulary word in context. This means reading not only the word, but carefully reading the words or sentences around the new word to try to guess the word's meaning. In this example, using the word underachievers as the target word in the passage, see how the sentence tells us the meaning as someone who may find school boring or needs extra help that is not provided. So when you are asked the question such as, "What does underachievers mean?" the sentence gives us the answer because it provides the context. The answer to vocabulary questions is not always so simple. So when you are asked a question about a new word in the reading passage and you are not sure of its meaning, you will need to determine its context in the sentence and in the paragraph. To do this, you can use a simple method. First, you should go back and reread a couple of sentences before the new word. Next, reread the sentence with the word in it, and read a sentence or two after that word sentence. If you are still having trouble finding the meaning, you might also try thinking about other words or meanings that could replace the new word. Many times you can figure out the meaning of the new vocabulary word by using one of these techniques. Another way to figure out the meaning of a new word in a passage is to look at the parts or components of the word. To do this, you will need to split the word into its prefix, root, suffix forms, and then try to determine the meaning of the word. Using the example of the word underachiever, notice how it can be split into the prefix under, the root achieve, and the suffix of s for plural. Through this breaking up method, the meaning of a word may become clearer. Now, underachiever becomes achieve, which you might find easier to define. Using the passage as an exam question while reading the context, notice how the sentence before the word underachievers stress poor relations and failure to encourage. The sentence with the word underachievers in it then goes on to say that these types of students are bored and need extra help. The sentence after the word mentions peer pressure and a failure to fit in. So the best answer for the question is D, because it gives us the meaning of the word in the context of the passage. The Reading Comprehension Accuplacer exam is more than just a vocabulary test. The exam asks questions about the general meaning of reading passages or its main idea. The Accuplacer exam will ask you questions related to the main idea of a reading passage. These questions will typically ask something as simple as, what is the main idea? So you should be prepared to quickly identify each reading's main idea. Simply put, the main idea is the main point that the writer is trying to convey to us as readers. It is typically a short statement that tells us the writer's purpose of what they had written. The questions about a main idea are not always simple to answer because the main idea is not always apparent. Therefore, a reading passage's main idea may be stated, meaning the idea is directly found in a sentence or two in the passage. Or it may be unstated, meaning that the main idea is not communicated directly, so you would have to guess its meaning. The next couple of slides will show examples of each. The main idea is easy to identify in a reading passage because it is contained in the passage like the last sentence in the paragraph. Huntsville State Prison sure has a unique way of raising funds to benefit its prisoners. So if you can find a sentence that indicates the main reason or purpose of the writing passage, then you have located the stated main idea. Keep in mind that the stated main idea can be located anywhere in the passage, but is typically found in the first two or last sentences of a reading passage, like in the example shown on the slide. Take a moment to read the passage on your screen. Oranges are an excellent source of vitamin C and a good source of vitamin A. Tangerines have less vitamin C than oranges, but actually have more vitamin A. Both are good sources of potassium. In addition, they are sweet and tasty. An orange has about 60 calories and a tangerine has about 35 calories. Notice that some information is given about citrus fruits and their vitamin content. However, the purpose for writing this passage is not presented in any of the sentences like it was in the previous reading passage. This passage has an unstated main idea because it is not directly in the selection. If you are asked to determine the main idea of a passage where no main idea is stated, or you read a passage with an uncertain main idea, you will need to figure out the main idea by thinking about the information in the passage and guessing what the main idea of the reading is. To do this, identify the topic of the passage. Then, identify 2 or 3 key points of the most important ideas presented in the passage. Then, identify how the information in the passage is organized. Finally, put all of this information together to create some sense of what a main idea statement of a reading passage would be. In the example paragraph, the underlined words may provide a sense of paragraph's main idea. Identifying the main idea of a paragraph is an important skill to have for the Accuplacer exam. However, you will also be asked questions about the ideas that support the main idea. These are called support details. So, a support detail is just that, information that supports the main idea. In this paragraph, let's pick out a few support details. Each weekend in October, there is a special event at the Huntsville Prison called the Huntsville Prison Rodeo, held at Huntsville Prison. Over 200,000 people crowd into Huntsville, Texas to see the rodeo. The participants are hold-up men, murderers, and thieves. They put on what some call the wildest show on earth. Some of the money raised by admission goes for prize money, but most of it is used to pay for education and rehabilitation programs. Huntsville State Prison sure has a unique way of raising funds to benefit its prisoners. Note how sentences 1 and 5 support the last sentence, which is the main idea. However, sentences 2, 3, and 4 are details as well, but these do not necessarily provide key points to the passage. It's not that these sentences are not important, they just provide the reader with some extra information. Looking at an example question using one of the paragraphs presented earlier, let's think about how to answer this question. The question, which of the following statements correctly identifies the main idea in the paragraph above, is simple enough. However, as presented earlier, the main idea is not always stated in the paragraph. In this case, it's unstated. Note how answer C covers the components of the paragraph's main idea, but answers A, B, and D are not quite correct. This is because the answer C identifies the topic, key points, and shows information that compares and contrasts the two fruits. You should pay close attention to questions that ask for information about a main idea that is unstated in a reading. Another important thing to keep in mind while taking the Accuplacer exam is to identify patterns of ideas and information in a reading. This is also known as the patterns of organization. A pattern of organization is the way information is organized in a reading passage. Think how text is really just information. However, this information is usually organized in a particular way. For instance, it could be compared, contrasted, presented in a time order, presented as a definition, stated in a cause and effect relationship, or put in a simple list. Keep in mind that each of these types of patterns have their own kind of signal words that are used to help readers identify the pattern. Knowing these signal words and patterns helps a reader understand the writer's purpose. These patterns can also help your overall comprehension of the passage. Looking closer at the different patterns of organization, there is the simple list pattern, to present two or more ideas that continue along the same line of thought. These use signal words such as and, also, or next. Contrast pattern, to show how two or more things are different. Common contrast pattern signal words are but, however, and unlike. Comparison pattern, showing how two or more things are the same, which uses signal words such as both, similar, and the same. Statement of definition pattern and example pattern, to provide a definition and example of something. The words such as and for example are example signal words. And the cause-effect pattern, to explain that something has happened and its result. This pattern uses signal words such as therefore and because. In addition to asking questions about your understanding of vocabulary and organization patterns, the Accuplacer exam also asks questions that relate to a writer's inference and tone. These factors are not so easy to understand, so it helps if you remember a few things about these concepts. For instance, when writers do not include certain information in a text, they are asking for the reader to make an inference about the reading or infer a meaning from a text that is not directly communicated. When you make an inference as a reader about a text, you are understanding a deeper meaning of what is being communicated in the writing. Writers oftentimes communicate complex ideas indirectly, expecting the reader to infer the meaning. For instance, in the sentence, "She felt the pit of her stomach drop," the writer is asking readers to make an inference about fear by writing about the physical feeling of fear instead of just writing something such as "she was afraid." Another term that is helpful to know in understanding the meaning of a text is tone. Tone is the expression of a writer's attitude towards the subject indicated by specific words or phrases. Tone is often used by a writer to indicate a feeling or an emotion through the situation being described using certain descriptive words such as angry, amused, caring, or humorous. This presentation gives just a bit of information for helping you take the Accuplacer reading exam. BCC has additional resources available on the placement testing website, as well as links to practice exams. Ask your enrollment counselor for this information. Good luck.